here. So, guys, tonight I would like to say, hey, everybody, thanks for coming. And we have Courtney here, and she is going to take the show on and tell us all about the International Exchange Program. Courtney, floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really happy we have so many excited people. I have a little presentation for you, and hopefully my second speaker will hop on. But we also have Josh here, who's actually in Japan right now as an intern and has done the 4 week and 8 week program. So I'm excited for him to talk. Um, he's a little bit of a goober, as you can tell, but I'll get started on this presentation and then I'll have Josh speak. So let me share my screen if I can do that. Okay. Can everybody see this? All my million tabs here. Oh my goodness. Move that so I can actually see. Boop. Okay. Can everybody see this? Yes.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Let me hit present and move all of this so it's not in front of everything. I'm gonna close our faces, so sorry, everyone. And you guys are welcome to ask questions as we go along. Don't hold them because I'm one of those people who will always forget if I don't say it immediately. So I understand if you're that person too. So we're going to talk about the International Exchange Program in Idaho, if it will let me. There we go. So a little bit about me. I'm Courtney Reimers. I've been a part of this program for 10 years now. I started as a volunteer and a host sibling. I hosted two Japanese delegates, Saya and Haruno, and I've participated in the global international summit here in Africa is where this photo was in Tanzania, Africa, which was wild. And I've also been a chaperone to the Japan 4 week program, which is how I met Josh. So we'll start with the outbound program. This is one of our most exciting, of course, I'm partial to this, but I think a super exciting program. This is where I send Idaho students out to another country. This year we have Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Costa Rica, and Argentina. This is a great opportunity, of course, for anybody who wants to see the world outside of Idaho, and the US. So, how to apply is probably one of our more frequently asked questions. There is an online application. If anybody here is interested, you can email me down here at Courtney or C. Reimers at uidaho.edu for anything about this program. But then you are interviewed by me and you go to orientations, which are hosted by myself and States 4-H, the program head. They are over in Seattle and they organize pretty much all of the outbound program. So, a little bit about the requirements to go abroad. Ages are 12 to 18 years old. You must not be in college as well, on that 18-year-old. I'm not talking about people who take AP credits or who do part-time college and high school. That more so goes towards our 18-year-olds. You can't be in college just because we don't want to mess with any of those credits and things. And of course, you must be open-minded, want to travel, and be okay with no or little contact with your biological family while you're abroad. We do that to avoid homesickness. It's really common if you're texting your family every single day that you get homesick, and we don't want that. Now, I'm not saying that once you get in the country, you can't shoot them a text and say, hey, I made it, because, of course, as a family member, I would love to know that you made it to another country safely. But we ask for a little contact. So, what is provided while you are abroad is going to be 3 meals a day, a homestay with 1 to 2 families in the other country, orientation in country and out of country. So you'll have your orientation. If you're going to Japan, for example, you'll have an orientation in Seattle, and then you will have an orientation in Japan before you're sent off to your host families. What also is provided is 24/7 support from our international partners, as well as a chaperone and insurance for any injuries or accidents. And thankfully, while I was chaperoning, I think we only needed that 2 times. So that was exciting. So the other biggest questions we get is what does the program cost? And depending on the program, it can cost anywhere from 2,500 plus airfare to 5,500 plus airfare. Now, that is expensive objectively. So, why does it cost that much? The biggest reason it costs that much is because of that accident and injury insurance. Because we are foreigners going abroad, that insurance can cost quite a bit. It also covers in-country travel. So, for example, we'll just go back to Japan. Some of those host families are on islands in Japan, so we have to fly you over to that area. So, planes, trains, cars, etc. And then, of course, your homestay, 24/7 staffing support, and then the orientation in country and out of country. All of that is why it costs so much. So, moving on from that, how can you pay for this program? How do you get there? So, many of our families save up for a couple of years before sending someone, or we've had delegates work part-time jobs, have bake sales, car washes, all of those odd jobs that people don't want to do, right? um, Things like dog waste and lawn cutting. But we also offer scholarships, which is why I think it's great to host a delegate first here in the state, because then I, as your Idaho State Coordinator, can offer you a scholarship if you host a delegate. And depending on how many times you've hosted a delegate, how many delegates apply to go outbound, is how much I can give you. It changes every year, but we try to make it a little easier for you guys. There's also a global citizenship scholarship, which this year is $500 for 3 of the delegates who apply for it, which is offered by States 4-H. So again, they're located in Seattle. And then county scholarships, which I believe it was 2 years ago now, we had a delegate here from Idaho who went to their county, talked to them, and they gave her a couple $100 scholarship. So there are ways to make this feasible. It can seem intimidating, but we do really, really want to send you there. So we do try our best to give you several options for scholarships and things to do. So, when will you go? Depending on the program, we have different dates, and it changes slightly every year. We try to fly you out on a day that's going to be least expensive so that we can keep those costs down. So, programs like Japan 4 week and Taiwan, you're going to leave July 8th, come back August 7th. Japan 8 week, leaving June 10th because it's going to be 2 months. You'll come back August 7th with everybody else in that Taiwan and Japan area. South Korea is going to be a July to August program, as well as Argentina. And Costa Rica is going to be June to July. And again, these dates change a little bit, but this is what this year's looking like. So it'll be about that going forward. So, our last question that we get asked is, can you stay with a delegate that you hosted in the past here in Idaho? And the answer is absolutely. We encourage that. We try to accommodate that the best we can. Of course, if you're on the later, like 18, 17, sometimes your delegate may have aged out. So unfortunately, we can't do it then. And sometimes it just doesn't work out, but we try really hard to make that happen. But those are the most common questions. I'll come back to this and oh man, maybe I'll let Josh talk a little bit before we move forward.
Hi.
If I,
Hello, I am Josh Sierra Davidson. I am the Labo intern for this year, and I come from Virginia. So, uh, essentially, what Labo intern means is for any of you that decide to come to Japan next year, I will be assisting you directly out of the airport and helping you throughout the entire process of while you're here. Actually, currently I'm in Japan. That's why it's so sunny. So I did want to hit a few things. So like the difference between the 4 weeks and 8 week programs for Japan. The 4 week program is just a homestay. So immediately out from the airport, you'll be staying in a hotel for about a day or for one night in Tokyo, and then you'll be sent off to your host family. And then you'll stay there for 4 weeks, and then you'll also get the opportunity of going to a summer camp with your host family. That summer camp, all the other delegates that are that year and in that area will also be joining you there. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the program. The 8 week program includes a 4 week class section. So you'll be staying in Tokyo and you'll have a little bit more freedom. You'll be going to classes every Monday through Friday, I want to say. And you'll be taking classes at the Labo office that is in Shinjuku. Uh, from my personal experience of doing that, it is one of the best classes I've ever taken in my life because the class is about 8 people and they go very intensive, very into every little piece of the language. And they're very open to questions, very open to everything. So, while you are doing your applications for some states. So I think this is all Idaho. You'll get the option between choosing between Labo or Lex. Uh, they are two separate organizations with very similar programs. I'm currently running the Labo, or I'm currently working for Labo, so I have a little bit of a bias. But I think Labo has more of a 4-H vibe to it over Lex. Lex is more language focused and learning language over I don't even know how to describe it, but there's a little bit of a difference between that. Oh, Courtney, did you want to say something about it?
Sure. So Lex is gonna be, like he said, more language oriented. They don't just do English, they do
Yeah.
Spanish and German and all sorts of things. So they are much more language as well as cultural oriented, whereas Labo is, like you said, 4-H oriented. They do camps and they do activities with groups and things like that. But that's the major difference.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then why do this over, or at least some of the questions I've gotten over the years is why do this over just traveling to the country? Um, Personally, my experience from doing this, I've gained a lot of uh, more cultural and worldly awareness because you're not just traveling the country, you are actively staying with a host family in the country. And the bonds you create from that, and they essentially become like second family to you. I'm still in contact with all of my host families that I've stayed with here. Actually, currently, I'm about to go on a trip to see my host family in Nara that I have not seen for, I think, a year now or 2 years. And I'm so excited about that. Also, job and college opportunities. I have gotten every single job I have applied for. I have put this on my resume for it, and they have been like, "Oh wow, you didn't just like go to this country. You stayed with a host family for an entire month. You were able to learn the language. You were able to do all this other stuff, and we think that you have more cultural awareness than a normal person that's applying here." Same for college opportunities. I've applied for several colleges, and all of them have accepted me with scholarships, uh, partially because of this. Um, and like my current job right now is being is helping kids that are coming here.
Hey, and we have a question in the chat. Do
Of
you
course.
need to be fluent in the language before you go?
Oh, absolutely not. the first time I went to Japan, I had absolutely no language skills. I do recommend learning at least some basic Japanese because a lot of the host families will have very limited English speaking. So just to help communication and all that stuff. But you don't need it. You don't need it. And honestly, that's all I have right now. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. Also, sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, but Marissa, are those cows in the background? Sorry, I just noticed that. I was curious.
Yeah, it's a heifer that I showed in Denver.
Oh my, wait, is that a green screen? I just realized you haven't been moving this entire time.
Yeah, the background.
Oh, Josh.
Sorry, I noticed that I was.
Yeah, you're talking to Idahoans. Cows are a
That's
normal profile picture.
that's fair. That's fair.
Oh my
You got
gosh,
another question?
we have another question here. Camden wants to know, do you learn the language in the classes while you're there?
Yes. So for the 8 week program, it is a 4 week extensive Japanese program. They by the time I went, I already had some Japanese skills, and they separate the class between like um like people that are very new to language and people that already knew a little bit of language. They separated them, and you just got like essentially just classes that taught you the language.
Yeah, and then of course you pick it up as you go as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those that you can't stay in a country for 4 weeks and not at least learn yes and no and please and thank you. So you'll figure it out. Josh, do you know what you want to do now after this? You said you were accepted to a couple of colleges. Do you have anything related to your exchange that you're thinking about pursuing now?
So job wise, I don't really know yet, but I do intend on studying double majoring in Japanese and psychology in college. A lot of the colleges that I got offered to offered me a year off of my Japanese studies because I was already fluent and I've already been to the country twice or 3 times now. Um, so they offered me less time on that, which means less money I have to give them.
One more question here. Is one of the language learning programs in the 4 week program?
No, so the 4 week program is just the homestay. Uh, like what Courtney said, while living with a host family, you're going to pick up a lot of language. And I know some people that brought like full on textbooks with them to study with their host family, which from their experience, they've said that
I'll
helped them a lot.
mute it.
Oh, yeah, of course. I um lost track of my thoughts. But yeah.
Yeah, and then something I did when so I went and chaperoned for the 4 week program. I did pretty much exactly what Josh said. I went to a bookstore with my host mother, and she picked out a couple of language books that I was like, I don't know how to speak pretty much anything. And she was like, oh, we'll get this book, and we'll sit down every night and do it. And I think that that was super beneficial and a very feasible way to learn the language in the 4 week program.
Yeah. All of the host families are going to want to interact with you and are going to want to help you learn the language. Um, honestly, some of them also want to learn English, so it's a lot of like just back and forth of talking this weird mix of English and Japanese, so both of you can kind of learn. Uh, yeah.
Could you guys talk a little bit about our families here hosting kids that come this summer?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Oh
that
yeah.
would be next up. I just wanted to make sure we
Okay,
get the
perfect.
outbound questions answered. So if nobody has any other ones for Josh, I can move on to that.
I don't mind talking a little bit on that. I've hosted three students from Japan.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Then you're welcome to stay on too. I don't know why I didn't realize you were in Japan when I offered you to do this. So
No, you're fine. You're
now you're
fine.
not in much of a rush. Um, so let's go back. Thank you, Josh. We'll come back to that. Okay. So here are some photos of Josh in Japan too. So that's fun. Let me There we go. All right, so our inbound program, so that is when we host delegates here in Idaho or in other states, but we'll talk about Idaho specific. So this year, our program will be from July 21st to August 16th. And what that means is they fly in, they get here on July 21st. So you won't get them until July 22nd because we have them for a day to kind of orient them and say, something like, hey, this is what a cow is. Please don't go like running up to it and scare it. We try to brief them on some things that they might see in Idaho or like rattlesnakes or black widows, things like that. So they're aware of some of our safety hazards specific to us. And then August 16th is actually the 15th. They'll be leaving you guys on the 15th again, so we can have a departure where they come back and they say, these were all the amazing things we did with our families, and they have some time with themselves and to write letters to their families and things like that. Uh, and then they have a little workbook that they usually bring that you might see them filling out as well during their homestay. And then they go back on the 16th. So steps to apply are very similar. So they're going to fill out an application. You will fill out the application. There will be background checks. This is the longest portion, I swear, of the application process. So when you do apply, I ask that this is usually one of the first things I ask done because sometimes it'll take a week, sometimes it takes 3 weeks, and I don't know why that is. This year there will be a Z Suites training about protecting minors and if you, well, of course, I assume all of you are 4-H families, but if there is a non 4-H family, they will enroll through 4-H while doing that. And then a family interview with me again or an intern, just to see like how the family works together, how they handle challenges and things like that. It's just a short 30-minute interview. So requirements to host a delegate is going to be there has to be a host sibling of the same gender and within 3 years of age of the delegate that's coming to America. They must have a separate bed. They don't have to have a separate room, but they do have to have a separate place to sleep. And they, of course, have to have 3 meals a day while they are here that is provided by the host family. And how we help you guys during this exchange is, of course, my phone is on 24/7. If there's ever any problems, I am there to help with that. Same with States 4-H. If there was a issue with maybe a medical issue or something like that, they would also be available 24/7 to assist with that. Um, they also come with insurance similar to what we send our delegates outbound with. So if there is any medical emergency, you don't have to worry. You just take them in and we cover that. So I also help you with an orientation. All of our host families, we have an orientation of just what to expect. Things like you might have to talk them through some things, or food might be a little bit challenging, mostly because if they come here the first day and go eat a Arby's or Burger King burger or something, that might be a little greasy as opposed to what they're used to. So sometimes they have a little bit of an issue with that, but we talk about all of those things in that orientation. Some frequently asked questions about the inbound program. So, do I have to host the delegate all 3 weeks they are here? And the answer is no. We are happy to split them between two families. Max is two. We don't want to do three because that would be switching them every week they're here, and that would be just super hard for them to adjust to. We allow families and family friends or clubs, even 4-H clubs, to split half of the time that they host that delegate. Of course, all of those people still need to be screened and have to go through the interview and the application process all separately, but it is allowed. What is expected of you as a host? Of course, we hope that you're going to be a welcoming, caring family and include them in your daily life, which means things like taking them grocery shopping, running errands, just spending time with them. If you do board game nights once a week, include them. And you don't have to do anything that is outside of your normal activities. Of course, if you want to take them to the zoo, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. They are here for a family experience. They want to know what living in America is like. And so you don't have to do anything extra. And then, of course, the requirements, providing them a bed and 3 meals a day, and all of that is expected. Will your student be able to speak English? And similar to when we send our students abroad, no, they may not speak English. Depending on where they're from and the age of the delegate, usually determines how much they'll speak. And I wouldn't say maybe the chaperones are sometimes fluent, but I wouldn't say any of the delegates have been. And how does hosting benefit your family? This is a once in a lifetime chance to experience another culture in your own home. Not many other things can do that for you. And then, of course, if you have hosted a delegate here in your home, then I can give you a scholarship to go abroad if that is something you're looking at in the future. And then, of course, you can stay with that delegate um, if that they are able. So these are just some photos from some of our previous families. Most of these were from this year. This is my little sister and Judy that we hosted, oh gosh, I think 2 years ago now. But we're going to come back again, and Josh and I also have one of our families from this summer, the Johnstons, who are going to talk a little bit about their experience. So, Josh, you can start if you'd like.
Yeah, of course. So I have hosted three delegates over the past uh almost 10 years, I think, because I my first delegate was 2019 and then COVID hit. So I had to start back up in 2003 or 2023 and then this year. Um, my experience from doing the inbound program is that a lot of the delegates, you don't need to do anything crazy with them. Like you don't need to go to Disney World and stuff like that. Obviously, that would be amazing, but you don't need to do that. A lot of them are like what Courtney said, are just here for the family experience. And a lot of what you think is normal, they'll think is insane. Like from being in Japan, I talked to a lot of kids that have done the inbound program and and like came back. And a lot of the things that they talk about are just like, yeah, I gotta see a cow. Or like there were so many trees in the forest and like stuff like that because a lot of these kids are coming from like very city urban areas and not like countryside Idaho. So like it is just a wonderful experience. And you won't realize how much of a benefit this will be to you also. Because like you don't realize how similar people are until you're living in the same house with them. Because when they first get there, or at least what my experience was like, wow, I don't know if we'll have anything like similar. You're from a completely different country than I am. I haven't even been there yet. But like once you start talking, and like even if they can't talk fluent English, it's usually a fun game of charades, and you're talking to them, and then you're like, wow, we actually have a lot in common. Even if it's just like, oh yeah, we like taking morning jogs in the morning. I think you need a lot of sun and stuff like that. And like it is a great experience. So yeah, I'll pass it on to the Johnstons if you guys are ready.
Can you see us?
You
Are we there?
You hit the
camera.
Oh.
you flipped around the camera. Can you see us now?
Yes, we can see
All
you
right.
guys.
There's no rear facing picture, so I can't see what it looks like. We hosted my name's Brady. This is my
I'm
son.
Silas. Yeah, we hosted Shunsuke from Japan. Yeah, it was awesome. Like he like I don't know, it was just so different. Like at first, like he just didn't really know the language. Oh, can you see me? And he just got so much better at the language. Is like a lot of what I noticed. All right, yeah, then.
Yeah, it seemed like he had a pretty good education in English. And then over the course of the 4 weeks, he really started to speak a lot of English and quite well. He had a lot of improvement. That was really fun. Um, he knew how to cast a fishing pole. Just throwing it out there. That kid knew how to fish. He came to Idaho prepared. Um, yeah, what else? We included him in the climbing team. His family was bicyclists, but my son is a rock climber, and so he just slotted in with
So
the climbing team, and that was really fun.
yeah, another thing, his family's also they run, like they're also runners, or at least they used to, and he's like really good at a really good runner. And I was doing cross country running at the time, and he like we were doing the cross country running, and then there was the time trial.
Yeah.
And one thing I don't know, I just want to share this because it's just so funny. Because there's these two kids that always get like first and second, and they're like not very nice people. And he just beat them both by like a long time, and they just like never like it was kind of sweet.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
but yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it was the highlight of our summer for sure. It was really really really
Yeah, it
rewarding.
was so fun.
Yep, and yep. He liked eggs. Um, so yeah, most normal foods were great. Um, I think he came with some ramen packets. Lots of ramen,
Yeah,
and
we
he
still got ramen.
and we still have ramen. Yeah, are you interested in anything else? Do you have any questions, specifically?
Let's see. I think there were a couple that I saw in the chat.
Oh, here, maybe I can turn the chat on. Here we go.
Oh, this is a question for me.
Okay.
Can you pick where your delegate is from? Yes, you can pick, uh, depending on what state or what the state is hosting. This year we only have 13 Japanese delegates. So unfortunately this year you can't pick because we only signed up for the one delegation unless we place all 13, which we're gonna do by June, then there's sometimes an overflow which you can pick from those delegates as well. But so it kind of depends on the year and the state. But does anybody have any questions about hosting a student for either of our folks here? Yeah, sometimes we host from Argentina and Costa Rica. That's going to be more of our academic year program, which I'll talk about here in just a second, is usually when we'll see those delegates. But sometimes we'll have Spanish-speaking countries come to Idaho. Give it another second. Um, let's see. All right, I think that's all the questions we have. If there are more questions, I'll come back to them in a second.
Courtney, I have just a random question, and maybe this is something that you touched on at the beginning, maybe before I jumped on. Where have you traveled with the international programs? And what was your favorite place to travel to?
Oh, okay. So I have traveled Okay, let me take a step back before I hop into that. I've been helping with this program for 10 years, yeah, a while. So I've seen a little bit of Japan and Korea from my delegates, and even we had, let's see, Ukraine, Costa Rica, and I want to say it was Romania. We had all of those come to my little town of Emmett, Idaho, which those of you in Idaho knows probably not that small anymore. Um, but it used to be, okay? But where I have been, and obviously this will be ever expanding as I continue in this program, I've been to the very first place I went to was actually France, Paris, France. The best pastries I've ever had in my entire life. And the coffee was actually amazing too. But man, the Eiffel Tower was a little overrated, I gotta say. There were so many people trying to sell me little Eiffel Tower keychains, and it was just crazy. At 6 in the morning too, I was like, what are you guys doing? It's time for you to be asleep. Anyways, um, and then the next place I went to was Arusha, Tanzania, so in Africa, for the global conference, which was just amazing. It was fantastic. And it was probably my first experience seeing such a different culture because obviously France is different. But I would say this was completely different from what I was used to because Emmett was not a very diverse place. So it was just a fantastic opportunity for me to kind of put aside my own um, kind of ignorant ideas of what people were like outside of Idaho and really like immerse myself and become this more uh, diverse person myself, which was fantastic. And they let me play the drums, which is always my favorite thing to do. I've tried in every country to play some kind of drum, and I've succeeded in almost every one of those except Paris. But anyways, and then Japan would be my third country. Yeah, I know. Yes. I stayed in Osaka and Kobe with two different host families, and it was just fantastic. It is my favorite place I've ever traveled, for sure, without a doubt. I I know Josh dancing over there. It was just so unique and I just can't even describe. And the food, I'm a big food girl, and I gotta say, amazing. Except for one really slimy soup that I didn't know soup could be that texture, and it was the one time I had to say no while I was there. I was like, I really can't. I'm so sorry.
Whoa.
But
Yep.
those are the three places I've been. I haven't been outside other than that. I was accepted when I first wanted to go outbound to Romania, but it was 2020, so unfortunately that was canceled. But yeah, those were the three places I've been. My favorite is Japan. Um, but yeah, thank you, Joe. All right, let me see. Looks like maybe one more. Oh, no, I answered that. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the academic year program and then finish off with whatever other questions we might have. So the academic year program is very similar to our inbound program, except it's for an academic year. So the application process is going to be the same, aside from there is some school paperwork that I help you fill out because it is very confusing unless you know what the heck they're talking about with like J1 visas and things like that. So I help you fill those out so it's not as intimidating. The requirements are going to be the same, except we also ask that they have a place to do schoolwork. That doesn't mean they need a separate room, just maybe a desk or the kitchen table, something like that. Um, and then, yep, a bed for the delegate and 3 meals a day. We do not require that you have a host sibling for an academic year delegate. So if for some like I think in this photo we had two sisters that were in, I want to say it was middle school. So the high schooler that came was, let's see, 13, 14, 13, 12, 11. I think 5 years older than these girls in the photo. So it's not required that they're within that 3 year age range, and they don't technically need a host sibling. So it makes it a little bit easier to host them. And then, of course, how we support you. There's 24/7 support they're here from August to June. And you have support that entire time. There's orientations and a handbook as well. And something else that we have that's a little different than the other ones is aside from me as your coordinator, there's also a local coordinator in your county. So if something for some reason goes wrong, or maybe they get sick at school, there's a secondary backup that can help with that. Um, yeah. And then, of course, I help you with all that. And this is a little video from one of our last year academic year students.
Hi, I'm Shuhei. I'm from Japan and I stayed in Alaska for 1 year. It means a lot for me. I could participate in the local high school and the general living with my host family. I really enjoyed it. The experiences gave me a future dream. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna be an English teacher in Japan.
Courtney, we can't see the video.
And no,
Oh no. Oh no. I don't know how to fix that.
Sorry, I thought it was just supposed to be audio. Then I saw you like drinking your drink, and I was like, oh, I don't think
So
this works.
I think I can see the video at least.
Can you?
Yeah, and Teresa's nodding her head. Yep. So Josh, are you on a phone? Are you joining over a phone?
No, I'm on iPad or not
O-
iPad, computer. Might just be my
Okay.
side. Apologies.
Okay.
You may have pinned Courtney's video as opposed to her screen share.
Yeah, apologies on. Continue.
I
No
appreciate
worries.
it though. Thank you.
living with my host family. I really enjoyed it. The experiences gave me a future dream. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna be an English teacher in Japan. And also talking with local people gave me confidence in my English. And actually, my English skill got better, I think. However, it was not something I could do alone. Host families are essential for the exchange student. Hosting an exchange student not only helps the student, but also allows you to learn about culture of the student countries. An exchange student come to you with lots of the preparation, expectation, and concerns, looking for an opportunity to make a difference. By accepting them, you will surely expand your connection as well, and I hope that more exchange students will have a life-changing experience as mine. Thank you.
So it's a pretty quick one, but it is very cute. So we can move on to any questions you have. Let me come back to the video. But that was our academic year program. It's the same as the inbound program, just a whole academic year. So a little bit more, um, I don't want to say intense, but that's the word that comes to mind. A little bit more lengthy. But does anybody have any questions for me, for Josh, or the Johnstons, anything like that?
There is one more in the chat from Travis. He says, what about if the delegate doesn't agree with my religion?
So all delegates come here with an open mind. A lot of them actually want to learn about your religion. We have, I think last year, I want to say there were like 10 delegates who put they want to go to church in their application for me. So I'm not going to match you with somebody who doesn't want. If somebody explicitly says, don't put me in like a Christian home, for example, I won't give you that delegate. Um, so it's not something that you would have to worry about. But like I said, a lot of them want to know about it. All right. Anybody else?
So I guess, Courtney, if you could, I know that I've got a couple of kids on here that kind of are very intrigued by this program. What are some things that like timelines of when you apply and things that they can be do for preparing, you know, if they wanted to do this within the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So some timelines. Right now is our outbound timeline. So generally applications for outbound are technically due today, the 15th of December. I think it's been that way for like 3 years. So I'm pretty sure that's going to stick. So December 15th, they do give us a little bit of flexibility. So if somebody really, really wanted to go outbound this year, you could shoot me an email and I would make it happen. But generally moving forward, it'll be December 15th. Something else to consider is our inbound delegates. We expect those applications, let's see, all the way to June 1st. Um, and like I said, there's only 13 delegates this year. So if you're looking to go outbound in the future, I would recommend getting that application in just so you can have an understanding of the culture, but also be able to apply for that Idaho scholarship. Um, and then for our academic year, applications are due October 9th. Um, but if this is your first time hosting, I would personally recommend doing that summer hosting first, just so you get a little understanding of what is going on there before you hop into a whole year of questions. Um, but that's the timeline and kind of my recommendation. So if it's something you are considering, I would say hop on that application for a host family this summer.
And you're gonna go international, so I'm gonna assume that they'll have to have like passports and things like that.
Yes, thank you. Um, yes, so of course we're going to require you have a passport. If you already have a passport, it has to be valid all the way up until the end date of your host, like your homestay there in that other country. So if you have I don't know, already have a passport that's good until 2030, then you need to, like, you would be fine if you're going to go in the next 3 years. But of course, if you're planning 5 years ahead, that might get a little dicey. We do require them to have your passport by April 1st if you do not have one of the year that you're going to travel. So April 1st of this year, if you were going to go, we required that picture of that passport. We do require you to send in a picture for us just because we have to apply for your homestay. We have to know you have that passport because if you show up at that international airport without one, you can't go. And that would be really sad for your host family because they are expecting you and they really want to introduce you to their Labo party, for example. It is something that's really important to them. So we would hate for you to not have one.
And if you could talk about a little bit about what the application is, like is it a like a paper pencil application that you have to fill out and what kind of things are on it?
Yeah, so the application process is a little different for each program, so we'll just touch on, let's do outbound first. Outbound's going to be more questions about you as an individual, whoever is going. It's going to ask you some scenario-based questions. It's going to ask you some essay questions. And then, of course, it's going to ask you things like if you have allergies or if you have like a diagnosis like ADHD or something like that, just so that host family can prepare for that. So it'll have your medical history, it'll have vaccination history, like trying to think, and then it'll have essay questions, short answers, and it's mostly scenario based. And it also asks you to have a letter for your host family at the very end, and also some photos of you and your family so that they can see who they're hosting. Um, And then the inbound application is going to be more about the family. So that's going to be, um, sorry, I'm blanking for a second, but it's going to be more about where you live. Are you in rural Idaho? Are you in a city like Boise? Do you have pets? What is your religion? Things like that, just so mostly so I can pair you up with a delegate that fits your family, um, and things like that. And then the AYP academic year program application is going to be the same as that inbound one, just a little bit more in depth. Things like uh, what school they're going to go to. Have they already talked to the school? Is it already in progress? Things like that. So each one's a little different, but they all have the same core, like about you, about the family, that sort of thing.
And we have a question in the chat. Can you give an example of a scenario question?
Oh man, I just had it pulled up. Let me see. I can tell you from the interview that I give the delegates that a interview question, and of course you're not supposed to know what the interview questions are, but one of the questions I am required to ask you, so a little tidbit just for my Idaho delegates. A scenario-based question can be something like, one of the big ones I ask is, especially for our families who haven't traveled in a plane yet, is if you miss your flight, what are you gonna do? Like, what is your plan of action if you miss that flight to Seattle, for example? Because all of the delegates fly out together to the country they're staying in, but that domestic flight to the orientation is the one that we worry about a little bit because you, as the delegate, are going to be doing that alone. So that's a scenario-based question. Another one is, let me think. It was, are you like if your host family is in rural, I keep going back to Japan. I guess I really am partial, but if you're living in rural Japan and your host family says that they have nothing planned this weekend, they plan on doing errands and housework, things like that, what are you going to do? Are you okay with being out your like without your phone? Do you have a plan for activities for you and your host sibling, like little like for example, sometimes they bring things like origami here to Idaho to do with their host sibling, or do you plan on bringing a book or doing some art or something like that? Just something so I know that you're thinking about some time that you're going to spend alone. Josh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add one for the summer programs. A lot of times the host family, especially for Japan, will still be in school for like the first week. So a lot of the some of the question would be like, if you don't have anything planned for the afternoon, what is your plan? Because you won't have your phone with you. So it's like, oh, what will you do? And stuff like that.
Yeah. So those are just some examples of scenario-based questions. Um, but just things to think about. Are the kids' cell phones taken away? So no, cell phones aren't taken away. When delegates come here, sometimes the international partners will take phones away, but we don't take the U.S. citizens, like kids going abroad's phones away. We do ask that they put them away themselves and spend time with their host families, but they are allowed to have it. And like I said, one of those requirements that I need to ask you about in that interview before I send you abroad is, are you okay with being without your phone? Because as much as I would love for the family to kind of be a part of this abroad trip, it does cause homesickness. And we do want to mitigate that. And of course, if your mother is really worried and she says, please text me when you get there, text her when you get there. Tell her you made it to Japan or Korea, of course. But we just don't want you, especially with the time difference, like Josh, it's 10 a.m. right now ish. Don't tell me I'm wrong, am I? Yeah, okay. It's way different time zone. Like we're getting ready to go to bed. You can see it's daytime for him. So we also don't want delegates staying up at night to text their friends or their family because that's going to cause a whole nother issue aside from homesickness. So we don't take them away. Long story short, but we just ask that they're put away.
Sounds like you want to be present in the moment, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, we would love for them to be present in the moment. And also, sometimes Wi-Fi can be very different in other countries. So sometimes you just won't be able to use it. So,
Yeah, most everybody has them uses them for the camera, so I could see using
yeah.
it for that, but that's about it. Let's see, you got one more in here. Are we allowed to show the host family's cool things when it's appropriate?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't tell you the amount of times I brought out my phone to show my family a video of my sister with like her chickens or a cow or riding horses because that's something they had like no idea about. So, of course, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And also, Google Translate. I Google translated how to use the toilet like in every different house I went to. So, I do recommend having Google Translate ready to go. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
About showing things and stuff. I you might have mentioned it, but we do recommend for delegates to bring albums with them with photos. Um, I don't have mine on me right now, but essentially it's just like it's essentially just like photos of your family, photos of your home, photos of pets and stuff like that. So you can show your family it's like, oh, this is where I live. This is where my state is because a lot of them won't know where Idaho is. Um, and like, oh, this is what I eat on a normal basis. This is my mom, this is my dad, for example. So we do recommend. It doesn't need to be like super fancy. We've had delegates bring like full on presentations with like bullet points and stuff like that. But we've also had people just bring photos and then they just talk about the photos. So either one is perfectly fine.
And I would imagine after you either host or go somewhere, you kind of keep in contact with those folks forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like a lifelong commitment, pretty much. I still text all three of my host sisters pretty much all the time, and same with my host mothers. One of those photos, which I didn't point out, but my mother, my biological mother, met my host mother when she went to Japan, and it was like my phone was blowing up, and it was like 10 p.m. for me. I was, who is texting me? It's my mom's. They're just like, oh my gosh, I met your mom. It was fantastic. But yes, it's gonna be a lifelong friendship, pretty much.
And if you
That's
ever
super
decide to
cool.
come back to Japan or whatever country you're visiting to, free housing.
Oh yeah.
Free housing. Because a lot and also like I said, I'm going to Hiroshima for a work trip in a few days. And my host family that I stayed with there was immediately like, hey, you can stay with us instead of going to a hotel. And same for like my Nara host family, since I'm going there right afterwards. They were like, you can just stay with us. So I don't have to pay for housing or anything like that, which is so sweet. And also, if there's any events going on here, and you're in America, I have asked my host family to mail me stuff.
Mhm.
Um, there's sometimes just limited edition stuff that's only in Japan. All right.
Especially if you're like an anime or Pokemon fan. Oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff. I remember a couple of our delegates, because there's a 50-pound weight limit when you go there and come back. We had to split parcels from other people into other people's suitcases and things so that we could all get it where we were going. And I was one of those people with a way heavier suitcase than they needed.
Yeah.
So I took like Oh, it was fantastic. It was perfect. And everybody took home their like limited edition stuff and all their cool stuff. It was fantastic. Teamwork.
Courtney, I don't think you saw my suitcase, but it was taped up because it had exploded due to how much
Yep.
stuff was in it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
No, I won't forget that suitcase. I remember that. Yeah, no, but it's fantastic. And like you saying, I still send my host families huckleberry jelly, which of course here in Idaho we know that that's one in 5 states that can produce huckleberries. And they loved it so much that I still send it during the holidays and things, and they still send me like I have, oh my gosh, I actually have something. I have this little Hello Kitty cookie box that they sent me cookies in from one of my, you can't see because of the light, from one of my favorite cookie places that they still randomly send me things. And I love it. It's fantastic. But yeah, like Josh said, you're 100% like a lifelong family and friend. It's great.
Well, cool. Well, we have been at this for an hour already. It's pretty interesting when you don't know a lot about it. Sure, thank you. And Josh, especially coming all the way around the world. But anyone else have any other last questions before we hang it up with these guys?
Yeah. And then, of course, if you have questions afterwards, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I guess I can put my email in the chat really quick for
yeah, I was
everybody.
just about to say I can put my email in the chat for anyone that has any questions. Like I said, if you come next year for through Labo for the 4 week or 8 week program, I will be there and assisting you directly at the airport.
Mhm.
We will be getting on a bus, which is going to be like an hour long, but that's besides the point.
That's not that bad.
It isn't. It isn't. But fresh off the plane,
I know.
from experience, it's not great. But
It is a little gnarly. But yeah, if there's no other questions, my email's there. You guys are welcome to send me any questions. I'm the one who will be assisting you with your application and interviews and all of that stuff. So I'm happy to answer anything.
Well, very cool. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having us, and Josh and Sarah, the Johnstons, I should say, because I know your whole family's there. But thank you guys for coming and talking about the program with me. I really appreciate everybody and all of you for all your questions.
yeah,
But
of course, wouldn't have missed it for the world.
I just stopped the record. Awesome.